Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. This Shabbos is Parashat Vayikra. It's also Rosh Chodesh Nisan, and we're getting into a Bein Hazmanim mode. I'm actually heading to Poland on Sunday, getting geared up for that as well. It's a very, very exciting time. Again, we're in the Bein Hazmanim mode in Yeshiva, which is wonderful. We had a great, great Zman, and we're looking forward to a tremendous Kayid Zman after Pesach is over. And I wanted to share with you a quick, very brief ideas on Parashat Vayikra. We get to Parashat Vayikra, we get to Sefer Vayikra, and all of a sudden, those of us who are going through the Parashat every week, it becomes much more challenging. We're in the world of Kudshim, the world of Karbanos, and it's very hard for many of us to connect to these psukim. So I want to just share two ideas that perhaps a little bit of a connection. So if you take a look at Perek Bey's Pasuk Aleph, the Torah writes, V'nefesh ki takriv karban mincha laHashem. If a person brings a karban mincha, soles yeh karbano, his carbon is going to be from a very fine flour. V'yatsak alav shemen v'nasan alav levana. You add some oil, you add some levana, a spice, and that is how you bring v'heviyah el b'nei Aaron hakohanim, and you bring your karban mincha, a mincha of soles. So Rashi makes the point that of all the karbanos that you find, of all of the voluntary karbanos, the nedavos that you find, it never says the word nefesh. Over here it says v'nefesh ki sakriv karban mincha. By the other karbanos it doesn't say v'nefesh. So Rashi writes, Lo nemar nefesh b'chol ha-karbanos nedava ela b'mincha. It only says it by a karban mincha, because after all, Mi darko lihisnadev mincha. Who is the one who's going to bring a karban mincha? A mincha is a bag of flour. How much does a bag of flour cost? You go to the supermarket, you buy a fine bag of flour, 3 shekel, 4 shekel. What are we talking about? $1? Who's going to bring a karban mincha? That's an ani. An ani is the one who's going to bring the karban mincha. So the pasuk says in nefesh that Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma'aleh ani alav Ki'ilu hikriv nafsho. Hashem looks at that karban of the ani as if he offered himself. And that's why it says specifically by this karban, v'nefesh ki sakriv. So Rashi is giving us a tremendous, tremendous insight and a very, very important idea. See, when an usher brings a karban, he's going to bring a nice, big, fat behemoth. He's going to bring a cow that's worth $1,000, $500. He's going to offer that as his karban adava. And what's his mindset? What's the mindset of the usher? Look at me. Look what I brought. I brought all of my wealth here, and I'm bringing this very, very fat, big, significant karban. It's costing me a tremendous amount. And the focus is on the physical offering that the usher brings. It doesn't say there, the nefesh ki sakriv, because the usher typically is, his contribution is what he brought, but he's not bringing himself. The ani, who has such challenges in life, is dealing with so much, and for him to bring that bag of flour. See, the essence of that karban is not the bag of flour. That's not what the karban's about. The karban is about the inner soul of the ani. The fact that he, despite everything, says, I want to come to the Beis HaMikdash. I don't have much to offer. So this is what I have, and really what that is it's a representation of himself. So there the Torah tells us, the nefesh ki sakriv. He is fully invested. The usher, he comes with a lot of wealth. So what is that animal to him? It's one of millions of assets that he has. So while it's good, it's chashuv, but it's not called the nefesh ki sakriv. See, when it comes to avodas Hashem, we see this all the time. Rachmana liba boy. Hashem wants the heart. Hashem wants the inside. We see this challenge. A lot of times we perform mitzvos bodily. We go to shul, we daven, check. We go ahead and we learn every day. Do the daf, check. We shake a lulav, check. We make sure that our house is clean of chametz and we eat matzah the leil seder, check. But that's not really what Hashem wants. That's the karban of the usher. I brought the karban, yasher koyach, tremendous, check. What Hashem really wants is rachmana liba boy. He wants our essence. He wants our heart. And that's something the ani can accomplish with a mere bag of flour, because the ani understands it's not about the bag of flour. That's not what this karban's about. The karban is about, and that's what the Torah is telling us, the nefesh ki sakriv. It has to come from the inside, and it's about where our heart is, where our mind is. That's a very, very fundamental lesson we learn from this carbon of this minchas soles that is brought by the ani. Another interesting thought, and that comes from Perek Bey's Pasuk Yud Aleph, an idea that I like very, very much. So here once again we're told about a carbon mincha. And the pasuk tells us, Perek Bey's Pasuk Yud Aleph, Kol mincha shetakrivu Hashem. When you bring a mincha, lo te'aseh chametz. It should not be made of chametz. Ki kol saor, any leavening agent, no good. V'chol dvash, and it should not be accompanied by honey. Lo taktir mimenu ishel Hashem. It should not be accompanied by a leavening agent, nor by any honey. Two psukim later, pasuk Gimel. V'chol karban min chasecha. What should it be accompanied by? Bamelach timlach. It should be accompanied by salt. By salt. The lo tashpiz. Do not at all shirk. Do not be negligent in the melach bris elokecha. That should accompany every single karban. Should be accompanied by takriv melach. So it's interesting. No honey. Yes, melach. Strange. If you asked me, I would have put on my carbon mincha, on this bread offering, on this meal offering, what could be better than pouring some honey over it? How tasty, how delectable. There's no natural food that is sweet and as special as honey. And v'haraya, we dip the apple in the honey. We see the value, the sweetness of honey. Here, no. The carbon mincha is, no, do not put honey on it, rather put salt. And here I think, again, a similar idea, very important message. You see, when you put honey on something, let's say you have that bread offering, the meal offering, and you layer it with honey. What honey does is it, in a certain sense, it's a layer on top that masks the essence of the object. It covers, it envelops. And what's the taste? What emerges from that honey is, it's really, really sweet, but it's camouflaging and disguising the core carbon. That's what honey does. Salt does something very different. What do we do when we want to extract the blood out of meat as part of the kashing process? You put salt. A fine steak, you don't want to lather it in ketchup, barbecue sauce. You don't want to lather it in that. What you do is you put some salt on, and the salt draws out the natural, delectable flavors of the meat. See, that's what salt does. Salt draws out the essence of the object. Salt is a maflit. It pulls out the essence. Honey masks. Honey camouflages. Salt brings out the essence. So once again, perhaps the message is a very similar idea, is when we have Avodas Hashem, and in our Avodas Hashem, a lot of times we want to kind of schmaltz it up. And we, sometimes some movements are looking to schmaltz things up. Add honey, add a lot of flavoring. And sometimes flavoring certainly is important. Variety can be the spice of life. But when it comes to a pure core Avodas Hashem, so at the end of the day, the Avodas Hashem stands on its own, and the additive, if we're adding anything, it's the bris melach, because what the bris melach says is look at the essence of the thing. Look at the essence of ourselves. Understand who we are as human beings. As human beings, we have tremendous, tremendous chashivas. We don't have to camouflage things. We don't have to take artificial sweeteners. Add the salt, and the salt brings out the essence of the object. I shared with the boys this Shabbos. We had an in Shabbos. We had a beautiful in Shabbos. I shared with the boys this Shabbos at Shalosh Shuddis an experience of mine, a challenging experience of mine. The past 12 months, unfortunately, I've spent a lot of time on the 8th floor of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. It's not the most pleasant floor to be on. As many of you are aware, my mother passed away, was nifteres 10 and a half months ago. And my father's been in the hospital in and out. The past week he's been in the hospital. I've been in the same floor, the 8th floor of the hospital. And the more I'm there, and the more I reflect, the more I tap in to the essence of the person and what we are really, really all about. And we could go ahead and camouflage with a lot of externalities. But when you see people that are facing health issues, and when you see a person's essence, this Friday I visited my father, a tremendous chizuk I got from him. He was in a feisty mood, which is a great thing for my dad, and he said, "Who's taking me to mincha?" He was in a hospital bed, hooked up to IVs and various machines. And he says, I'm up to it. I want to be in my wheelchair, and brought to the 8th floor shul in Shai Tzedek. What a chizuk for me. What a tremendous chizuk to, and an inspiration. But at the end of the day, to understand the essence of things and what it's really all about. Hashem gave us a guf, and he gave us an neshama. And it is so, so critical that we understand that the essence of who we are, our true self, is the neshama. And that's what we want to try and draw out. That's what we want to, in a certain sense, really bring to the fore. And the guf is a levush, is a clothing, but the essence is the neshama. And when it comes to avodas Hashem, when it comes to our karbanos, we add salt, because salt extracts the essence. Honey, wonderful, wonderful flavor, but not when you're talking about core avoda. When it comes to core avoda, we add the bris melach in order to bring out what is truly important, what is truly the essential man, the essential person, the essential avoda. And we should all be zocha. As we learn through these difficult psukim of Sefer Vayikra, tap into the deeper messages of the Sefer, tap into the ideas of the nefesh kisakriv, and understanding our essence. And Be'ez Hashem will be in position beautifully to have a wonderful Chodesh Nisan and a tremendous, tremendous Chag HaPesach Habo Aleinu L'Tova.